Mikey Johnston. It's been a bit of a stop-start season for him, obviously just through injury mostly. So I guess, James, this is another player that's maybe here on potential rather than what he's done this season or overall so far, because he's still very young.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, because he's only, I think he's 19 at the moment. But I mean, he got a run of games at the start of the season. He was playing in, the qualifying rounds for Celtic in Europe, and he scored some brilliant goals. I mean, there's a goal against Sarajevo away where he just, absolutely wellied it into the top corner from like 30 yards out. He scored an excellent goal against Rennes as well in the group stages. And I think he does look like a really exciting player. I think his development, it sort of might have stalled. The one obvious reason is that, he'd done his ligaments in January, so, he's out till whenever football resumes, presumably. And the other reason his development's maybe stalled a little bit as well is by Celtic signing El Younousi on loan from Southampton, who obviously plays the same position, and there's not really room for two of them in the same team. But I think that Mikey Johnston has, when he has played this season, I think he has been quite exciting. I think he does look like a really good attacking player. He's very quick, very good with the ball at his feet, quite tricky. He's got a good shot on him, and certainly he's got a lot of attributes to be excited about. His problem this season though has just been getting minutes. He's only played 500 minutes in the league. Now obviously part of that is because of his injury, but there's still the half the season before that where he wasn't really able to make a huge impression. But I mean, his most telling contribution this season was probably he got the assist during the 2-0 win for Celtic at Ibrox at the start of the season. But even then, it was a good pass through to Edward. Then does an excellent finish because he's Odsonne Edward. But I mean, even that in itself was down to a mistake. Like when he was given the ball, I think it was Goldson basically just passed it straight to his feet, and then Celtic were away. But he did, obviously he capitalised on it. He did the most. He did everything that he could possibly do right. So fair play. But basically, I think he is a very good player. I think he's very exciting, but he needs more game time, and obviously he needs to make sure he returns from this injury and gets back to the level he was playing at, because I would be if I was Neil Lennon and I had the choice between signing El Younousi for £10 million or whatever it is, or just giving Mikey Johnston a run, I'd probably go for Mikey Johnston, because I think actually bar maybe a 1 month spell, I don't think El Younousi's been brilliant for Celtic. I mean, they had that great run around about November time. Apart from that, he's not always convinced. And the fact that obviously being a homegrown player of someone like Johnson, you get a lot more sort of goodwill from the stands. You've always got a wee bit more time. Mistakes get forgotten about quickly. And I would like to see more of him next season. And I think he's good enough as well to be starting, maybe not week in, week out for Celtic, but certainly getting more minutes than he's getting at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you make the point there, it is maybe down to personnel as well as injury, why he can't break through. I also just checked that he's 21, which I was surprised at. I think he only turned 21 2 days ago or something like that. Stefan, is there anything else? Is it just down to like El Younousi being in the team, or is there anything else he can do? I mean, it sounds, again, like, be better, but I think, do you expect him, if he comes back from his injuries, to be given a run in the team, or is it going to be difficult for him to find a place?
No, I do expect him to come back into the team. I'm a huge fan of Mikey Johnston. I think I'm just rattling my brain to think if there's anyone else that notably stands out besides maybe Billy Gilmore at Chelsea. But and I guess if you want to say Kieran Tierney's already kind of moved past this stage, but I think Johnston may be the best young Scottish prospect in football, in my opinion, right now. That's how highly I rate him. Like James has kind of said, he's kind of had a stop-start season. A lot of that came down to injury, and obviously El Younousi being brought in late on in the summer window. But I think whenever he's had a chance to play, whenever he's fit, I think he's looked outstanding. And a kind of roundabout way his season's worked, he's actually played almost as many European games for Celtic as he had Premiership games. In those 8 European games, he's got 4 goals and 2 assists. And this is a guy who hasn't even really been able to nail down a first team spot for Celtic yet. I think I'm trying to think which game it was. I think it was maybe the Rennes game. We were looking at a young Scottish player who was literally just running through 5 or 6 players on a European stage at such a young age. And I know we've been here 100 times. Scotland seems to have a really good ability at producing exciting forward players who do kind of fizzle out. But I think Celtic have showed a very good ability to kind of harness these guys and get the best out of them. And obviously at Celtic he's got a huge amount of examples he can just follow, in terms of Cal McGregor, James Forrest, even maybe Ryan Christie to an extent, who obviously went away at Aberdeen and then came back and really nailed down a position. And he's actually probably in quite a similar position to Ryan Christie in the sense that Christie had a few bigger names in front of him in that Celtic team. Obviously I think maybe Oliver Cham, Tom Rogic, for example, these guys are kind of international players, and very well regarded players, particularly from the Celtic support, and Christie was able to really get his elbows in there and nail down his own spot and say, look, maybe Scottish players don't get the same kind of appeal and the same sort of buzz about them as foreign players do, but I'm here and I'm going to make the space my own. And I really expect Mikey Johnston to do the same on that left wing role next season. No idea what's going to happen with El Yunusi at Celtic, but I totally agree with James in saying that I actually think he blows quite hot and cold, despite the kind of reputation he seems to have among Celtic fans of being a very exciting player. I know plenty of them are clamouring for the club to sign him on a permanent deal, but I think Mikey Johnston has proved himself just as good a player. And again, I totally understand that he hasn't played as many games as a lot of the players on this list, and maybe I'm just being entirely indulgent here, but I think in terms of potential, he's one of the most exciting players that we'll probably speak about on this list, being perfectly honest with you.
Is just taking a move away from club and talk about country then, James, has he got a role to play for Scotland in terms of I think even at the moment he's proved that he could do something at that level, even if he was coming on as a sub. What do you think?
I think he needs to play more games first, to be honest. Like Stefan says, when he plays, I'm generally impressed by him, but I don't think you can justify having him in the squad at the moment just because he doesn't play regularly enough. Ultimately you need players who are playing often, and he just isn't doing that at the moment. Obviously you look at the players that are ahead of him, in the wing, in the wide areas, you've got Ryan Fraser, James Forrest, Ryan Christie sometimes. It's a big ask to ask Mikey Johnston to displace any of those because they're arguably some of our best players in the national team. One thing where I'm a wee bit concerned in terms of how much game time he's going to get going forward is I'm not entirely convinced how well he fits into this Lennon's sort of 3-5-2 formation, because he's a natural winger. I don't think he's solid defensively enough to play at either of the wing back roles, and I think he can be a little bit lightweight playing up front. Obviously he'd still have to somehow displace Edward or Griffiths, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. I know he's played as a striker on occasion, but I think he's at his best as a winger. So I think a lot of his development will hinge on how Celtic play going forward. Whenever football returns, because if they're not playing with natural wingers, he might then find himself as a casualty of Lennon's system, where he's either been shoehorned into roles where he's not, or positions where he's not really suited, or he's just left out altogether.
Anything to add to that, Stefan?
No, I think it's a really good point. The only thing I would add is that I think Neil Lennon moved to the 3-5-2 position because his wingers were out injured. He didn't have Johnston, he didn't have Forrest. I think El Yunusi was maybe injured too, and he said that on the record actually in maybe January or something when he came back from that Dubai training ground, and they moved towards the 3-5-2. So I think one of Lennon's real strengths is that he can be very pragmatic with his tactics and the way he puts his teams out. He's without turning this into a Neil Lennon podcast, he's kind of the opposite of Brendan Rodgers. As we've said countless times in this podcast, he'll look at the players he has any given day and he'll work those tactics around it. So I would like to think that with a fully fit Mikey Johnston, and I guess James Forrest as well kind of points into this as well, that he will probably maybe revert back to a 4-2-3-1. Whether that's the best for Celtic as a whole, we'll find out, and he'll obviously go with what's best for Celtic. But I think there's space for him. I also think Johnston can actually maybe almost plays sort of inside forward or number 10. However, he's coming up against other better players there, so I appreciate that's maybe not a great future for him. But I think he's got a really exciting future at Celtic on the whole, and I think he's at a club who do a very good job of looking after the homegrown players by the most part. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how well he can do when we do eventually get back to watching football in Scotland.